Honda S Series 1962 to 1970. Honda S or Sports Series is the second four-wheeled vehicle and the first sports car ever to be produced by Honda. The name S comes from sports while the letters following it depends on the engine displacement. The development process of building cars started in 1958 with a small team of 50 engineers under the management of Yoshio Nakamura. Two projects have been started, one for a small sports car that turned into the S Series and the small truck that became the T Series. The prototype has been completed in 1959 under the name XA190. Two copies have been built, both similar except one had a fiberglass body while the other had a steel body. Both were powered by a 360 cubic centimeters air-cooled inline four-cylinder engine, developing 29 horsepower per 8,500 revs per minute. Both cars have been intensively tested for 4,000 kilometers, and all problems encountered led to various changes that can be seen in the second car, named Honda S360, which was unveiled in 1962. The S360 has a more mature design and uses a modified 360 cubic centimeters engine, developing 33 horsepower at 9,000 revs per minute, and it was water-cooled since they concluded that the air-cooled engine had some limitations. This new engine has been built with two overhead camshafts and had four carburetors, one for each cylinder. This prototype has been dismantled and does not exist anymore, but at Honda Sport's 50th anniversary, a replica has been made by a group of enthusiasts, and later the same year, it has been exhibited at the 2013 Tokyo Motor Show. Honda S500, 1963 to 1964. The first model to be series produced was the S500, that has been unveiled at the 1962 edition of the Tokyo Motor Show alongside the S360, but only the S500 has been produced and sold to the public. The lead designer of the car was Taisuke Mori, and it was inspired by the British sports cars of that time. It is said that Soichiro Honda made some final design adjustments. The S500 was slightly larger in front than the S360, as it had a larger all-aluminum 500cc inline four-cylinder engine, developing 40 horsepower at 8,000 revolutions per minute with a red line of 9,500, and it has been developed by engineers with experience in motorcycle competitions engines. However, for the series production model, the engine has been rebored to 531cc, developing 44 horsepower at 8,000 revs per minute. The engine was mated to a four-speed manual transmission, and the car had all-round independent suspension with some aluminum components in the rear. It was offered for 495,000 yens, the equivalent of $1,775. A fiberglass hardtop was also offered as an option. Although the car was not very powerful, it was very light with a total weight of 675 kilograms. In total, 1,363 copies have been built. Honda S600, 1964 to 1966. The updated Honda Sports, called S500, has been introduced in 1964 as a replacement for the S500. The exterior differences are minimal and can be distinguished by the larger grille, bumpers, and headlamps. The engine had an enlarged bore and stroke for a total of 606 cc and used a similar technology as the Honda Grand Prix motorcycles. The engine has been upscaled since the customers complained about the lack of power in the previous model and now develops 57 horsepower at 8,600 revs per minute. Same as in the S500, the engine was mated to a four-speed manual transmission. For suspension, Honda used again a four-wheel independent suspension with a vertical torsion bar spring and double wishbone. The rear uses a double chain axle, which also is a trailing arm for the chain drive case, the same as in motorcycles, so when driven in force, the front and rear of the car lift, just like in a powerful motorcycle. providing a good weight and traction on the rear wheels when accelerating, and the same for the front, when the acceleration pedal is released before cornering, moving the weight and better traction to the steering wheels. This was something new to automobiles, but Honda used its motorcycle experience in developing cars since it lacked experience in the automobile industry. The S600 was offered for 509,000 yen, and in 1965 a coupe version has been added to the lineup with a price of 599,000 yen. The coupe was only 15 kilograms heavier than the Roadster version. Both models have been offered in two trims, one standard and the other one called SM600. The latter included standard radio and speakers, heater, beta seats, and standard reverse lights. The S600 was the first Honda to be exported to Europe, initially only with a right-hand drive, but later, a left-hand drive version was added. In total, a little bit over 11,000 Roadsters and 1,800 coupes have been built. Honda S800, 1966 to 1970. Initially, an S700 prototype has been presented in 1965, but since Honda was aiming for more power, the third model of the S series used a larger engine and was called the S800. It has been introduced at the 1965 edition of the Tokyo Motor Show, and sales started early in 1966. The car continued using the all-around independent suspension, but the front brakes have been changed to disc brakes in the front instead of drums brakes that have been used in the previous models. Initially, the car used the same chain drive as in the previous models, but it was changed shortly after the model was introduced to a regular drive shaft drive with a rear live axle and panhard rods. The S800 was offered both as Roadster and coupe. The coupe was similar, with the same engine and body, but was a little bit heavier than the Roadster version. The S800 used a larger 791cc inline four-cylinder engine, developing 70 horsepower at 8,000 revs per minute, increasing the performance to a top speed of 161 km per hour and a 0 to 400 meters sprint in 16.9 seconds. The power was transmitted to the rear wheels through a synchronized 4-speed manual gearbox. Although the engine was more powerful, the car still had a good fuel consumption with only 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers. In 1968, the Honda S800M was introduced, an upgraded version intended for the American market that included modifications that were mandatory for the US market, like the side turn and signals. It also had a comfier interior, a different carburetor, dual-circuit brakes, and safety glass for the windshield. However, although it was intended, the model has not been officially sold there. In total, a little bit over 11,000 units have been sold, and there was no immediate replacement in the range for the Honda Sports model. The name S has been later used in 1999 for the Honda S2000 model and in 2015 for the S660 model. The S series remains in the history of the automobile as one of the cars with the highest revving engine cars ever to be series produced, with a red line close to 9,500 revs per minute.